Not only Putin, but those closest to him and those Russian elites, those oligarchs are in a bubble that will protect them in some ways from feeling the immediate pain of some of these sanctions. So is that why it's all the more important to continue to go after the elites in any way that these, international governments can? Because, someone like Putin probably is not too concerned if, people who are already struggling in his country are struggling a little bit further. But he might be concerned if his friends' yachts are being seized.
Yes, he might be. But as a Russian once told me, in many ways, it's always ultimately Putin's money. And so, yes, it will concern some of them. Yes, the people who go to Ivy League colleges and have yachts in the Mediterranean will not be happy. But this is really about not recreating the Soviet Union. Putin attacked the Bolsheviks on Monday. This is about recreating the Russian traditional imperial dream. This has been in the bone marrow of the elites from the time of the czars, and that's very troubling. It's going to take firm, carefully timed, carefully targeted pressure to push back successfully. Ultimately, I think that we will.
But Donald, do you think also, you say it's in the bone marrow and the sort of the DNA of the Russian elites, sort of historical view of the position of Russia. But do you think that these elites, including Putin, might be out of touch with the Russian people themselves? The Russian people, from reporters who are there right now, are not responding favorably to this. They didn't think he would do this for the most part. They don't support this for the most part. Could this be the beginning of the end of the support that he's enjoyed for so long from so many Russians?
It certainly could be, Tanya, and there's every sign that the burst of patriotic enthusiasm now is much smaller than in the past. But he has so atomized Russian society that organizing against Putin will be very difficult. As you saw, the proceedings against Alexander Navalny continue today. It's really, over the shorter term, it's the elites that matter. It's the generals. There are several generals recently who came out against the war. It's the oligarchs, as we said. But there is a very, very tough, hardline faction, let's say to the right of Putin, that in some ways wants to turn inward, wants to tighten the screws, wants to be closer to China. And frankly, they're telling Biden and the West, bring it on. We can deal with whatever you give us. And that's a very troubling tendency in one part of the elite. That's very hard. That's a very hard nut to crack. But it is there. And that means, as I said, we have to support Ukraine. We have to keep the alliance solid. And we have to go beyond sanctions to a more forward-leaning approach to countering this crisis.
Very, very quickly, because we're out of time, we have to let you go. What do you recommend then? What steps beyond sanctions would you recommend?
Well, first of all, we saw very little in the president's speech about helping Ukraine. This is not going to end quickly. They could decapitate the entire government. And Ukraine, a big country the size of Texas, as you said, they're going to keep fighting. They have a tradition of partisan warfare against authoritarian leaders that lasted years after World War II. They're going to fight now, and I wish I had heard more about what we are going to do to help the Ukrainian opposition, the Ukrainian opponents of this travesty. And I would have liked to heard more. I suspect we will see more from the West, including especially from us, the United States. But we need to provide those people with the kind of military and moral support because they are looking to us for leadership.
Donald Jensen, thank you so much for your insight. We appreciate it. And we're going to take a quick break, but stay with us. You're streaming CBS News, always on.
An original CBS Reports documentary.
The mayor, the city council, everything's run by a woman.
Pine Lake is predominantly white, but the surrounding area is 90% black. Somebody's going to get pulled over.
Why are most of the people in the courtroom black? Most of the people in Pine Lake are white.
An original CBS Reports documentary, streaming now. An original CBS Reports documentary.
Some Republicans are now accusing companies like Twitter and Facebook of targeting conservatives.
They've had unchecked power to censor.
I do not have access to my main Facebook account.
I wasn't given an explanation. I was just like, what did I do?
It's not okay to shut down my voice simply because it's not the same as yours.
How those rules are enforced is something that the rest of us know very, very little about.
The First Amendment protects all of us from the government limiting our speech. The companies have the ability to decide what speech they will allow. They're not the government.
An original CBS Reports documentary, streaming now. An original CBS Reports documentary.
There is now more than $1.7 trillion in student loan debt.
The punishing price of a college education.
Why are we punishing millions of people because they chose to get an education?
My parents didn't make enough to just write a check and pay for school, and so loans were really my only option.
It just feels like quicksand. It feels like this huge thing I'll never get out from under.
This would be a moment for the federal government to say it is time for us not only to ask for forgiveness, but to extend forgiveness.
There's a cost to forgiveness. Ultimately, taxpayers are responsible for the federal debt.
An original CBS Reports documentary, streaming now. An original CBS Reports documentary.
The mayor, the city council, everything is run by a woman.
Pine Lake is predominantly white, but the surrounding area is 90% black. Somebody's going to get pulled over.
Why are most of the people in the courtroom black? Most of the people in Pine Lake are white.
An original CBS Reports documentary, streaming now.
As we've reported, Ukraine's president implemented martial law, all while asking citizens to remain calm. Despite the president's words, many Ukrainians are fleeing for safety. Traffic was at a standstill in Kyiv as long lines of cars filled and clogged the streets. Now, to talk more about what's happening in Ukraine, I'd like to bring in Deputy Head of Ukraine's Parliamentary Majority, Alina Yatchenko. She's joining us right now. First, thank you for joining us in such a difficult time right now. How are people reacting in Ukraine? What are you seeing?
Hello, everyone. People are horrified on one hand, but on another hand, they are ready to protect their land because we are here standing on our land. It's our country, it's sovereign country, and none of other countries, no bloody Putin or Hitler or however you call him, will tell us what we should do and tell us that part of our land is not our land. Our people are not our people. But overall, the situation is very difficult. You can't imagine. Today, I woke up at 5 a.m. because of explosion. I heard explosion, and it was actually attempt to bomb Kyiv. Currently, tonight, another bombing of the capital city of Ukraine might happen, and we recommend people to go underground to subway or to their underground. And believe me, it's horrifying. I'm telling you it, not as just regular citizen, but as member of parliament and mother of 2 children. Today, Putin and Russian troops, and we're not talking about, some separatists. It's Russian troops with Russian flag on their uniform. They were bombing cities all over Ukraine, not only eastern part, but also west, Kyiv, capital city, Odessa, some other big cities. We have lost about a couple dozen people, including children. Children were murdered today because the world was not serious about Putin. The world was not serious about sanctions on time. And now it's like every minute, every hour is important. So what the world can do now and what US should do now, 2 things. Please start with SWIFT. If you block Russia from SWIFT, it will really help because then Russian citizens will come out to their streets and ask Putin what is he doing not only with Ukraine, but with their own country. He's killing and he's ruining lives, not only Ukrainians, he's murdering Ukrainians, literally, but he's also ruining life of his country and his citizens should tell him. So I beg American politicians to block Russia from SWIFT now. Please save Ukrainian men, women, and children.
Helena, I can hear it in your voice. I mean, this is a...
Citizens, block Russia from SWIFT. I beg you, please save our people. Another dozen of people and maybe hundreds of people might be murdered tonight.
President Zelensky has asked people to remain calm, but it's difficult. President Zelensky has asked people to remain calm. Are people staying in their homes in Ukraine to avoid this? What are you doing to protect your children?
I'm staying home because I need to go to work anytime. Today, I spent most of my time in the government neighborhood. We had the parliamentary meeting to adopt martial law, so our army and president can make decisions. But overall, thousands, and I would say 100,000 people are leaving their homes, especially in eastern part of Ukraine and southern part of Ukraine. They are leaving to western regions, or they're trying to go abroad. They're leaving their homes with all their stuff and things. So I ask you to be courageous, and to make right decisions on time. In my opinion, the world was already taking too much time to think over what to do with Putin. But Putin is not thinking. He knows what he wants. He wants to invade our country and kill our people. And I beg you not to let it happen. So I ask you about two things. First, block Russia from SWIFT, and second, send Ukraine the forces how we can block the arms that they are sending through air, because they have the rockets in Russia, in Belarus, and they can bomb Ukrainian cities from other countries like Belarus and Russia, not even invading, but they are ruining homes, they're killing people, they're murdering people, not only our soldiers, but innocent people. And today, as I already said, about 6 dozen people were murdered, including children. This is horrible.
Helena, please stay safe. Please take care of your children and your family. Thank you for talking to us and giving us a little bit of a glimpse of what's happening right now. Thank you for your time.
While all of this is happening overseas, the invasion is causing U.S. markets to tank and gas prices to soar.
The price of oil surged over $100 a barrel in the hours after Russia launched the attack. Gas prices across Europe soared by more than 30%. Joining us now for more on this is Halima Croft. She's the managing director and global head of commodity strategy at MENA Research. Halima, Russia is the second largest natural gas exporter, third largest exporter in the world of oil. Oil supplies were already stressed because of the pandemic. So what does this invasion of Ukraine mean for the global energy supply?
As you just mentioned, global oil supplies were already very tight. We've had this massive economic reopening as COVID concerns ease, and there were already concerns that there wasn't a lot of additional supply out there to meet demand. Now we have one of the world's largest oil and gas producers in an active conflict situation, soon to be subject to the most severe economic sanctions from Western powers. And there are grave concerns that Russia may look to withhold energy supplies in order to punish Western nations for imposing sanctions. This is a story that has major impacts for commodity markets.
And so, Halima, Russia is also one of the world's largest exporters of key commodities in the agricultural and mineral markets. So how do you think that factors into Russia's plans moving forward?